What's going on, everybody? It's your homeboy OG Camera Boy back again, and if you're one of the 5 or 6 people that watched my last video, you know that in front of me sits a box that I purchased from eBay that contained camera parts that were labeled as is, or 4 parts, or non-functioning, all this kind of stuff. And it contained 4 or 5 lenses, if I'm not mistaken, one of which was my particular interest, which is this one right here, the 12-24, which I have already fixed. That was what my last video was all about, and I'm thrilled to have this. This is fantastic. It's a beautiful lens, and I'm glad that I was able to fix it to full functionality. It works great. So that means that this purchase was completely successful, because that's the only reason I really bought this box, was for that lens. But I still have all these other camera parts that I could tinker around with, and I started messing around with them, trying to find out what the circumstances were behind some of the camera bodies and some of the lenses, and maybe there was a chance that I'd be able to refurbish some of the other stuff too, to get myself more out of it, so I could extract more value from this purchase. Now, there were 4 Samsung NX20 camera bodies in this box that I purchased, and just to remind you, if you hadn't seen my last video, I paid $200 for the whole lot. It also came with 4 18-55 kit lenses in various conditions, let's just say, and I've gone through all of them to try and pick out what I think are the best camera bodies that perhaps I can repair, and what are the best lenses and what I can try and do out of it. Now, what I've assessed is that this NX20 camera body that I'm holding in my hands right now, with this lens connected, which is one of the 18-55 lenses that came in the box as well, works pretty well. I mean, as far as I could tell, I've been through with it, as far as running it through some tests, you know, just normal operations, taking pictures, taking videos, messing around with the settings, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work, and from what I can tell, everything works. The only thing that seems to be the problem with this one is that if you look here, I opened the battery door and you can see that the SD card pops out, and that's because the SD card isn't held in place. There's something wrong, I guess, with the spring mechanism for the SD card, and it doesn't hold it down. So I have a donor body right here. I've tried out the other camera bodies, and the other ones have problems, you know, various problems that I don't know that I necessarily want to try and undertake any sort of effort to get them going again, because some of the problems are fairly extreme. But this one here, for example, has a perfectly working SD spring slot in it, as I think the other ones do too, but this one is the one in the best condition. And so what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to open this up, and I'm basically going to replace this SD slot for the one that's in here, and obviously we're going to make sure that this one, which is full functioning, works perfectly well. And there's another thing about this one too. Oddly enough, the actual casing of the body of this one is in better condition than this one. Now, I don't know how easy or how difficult it's going to be to try to replace the casing in taking it apart, because I've never taken this camera apart. I have no idea how that's going to go. But if it seems that there's a possibility to be able to transfer the outer case from this one to this one, basically transplanting the guts, I guess you could say, plus the SD card spring, then I'm going to do that, because this one here is missing. Its little rubber padding here in the back has come off. It's just basically the glue that remains here, which is not sticky at all. And the rubber coating here on the grip as well is a little bit wearing away, not in the best condition. It's weathered, you know, whereas this one here actually looks perfectly fine. It looks great. So if I can replace the outer casing of this one with this one, as well as the SD card slot spring, then I'll do that. Now, I know from a little bit of experience, because I've opened these up before and I've replaced motherboards on NX300s, because I've done that in the past, that the SD card slot is probably connected to the motherboard. So I'm not really sure how this is going to go. Again, I'm just sort of spitballing it here and trial and error. We're going to open it up and see what happens, you know. So it's not like this camera is going to be my go-to or anything. I'm just trying to fix it, because in the future I would like to take this camera body, remove the infrared filter on it, and turn it into an infrared camera or a full spectrum camera. So we'll see about that. But anyways, so let's get started. Here's the donor body, and here I have the camera that I'm going to try to replace the SD card spring on. So I'm going to open this one up first and mess around with this one to figure out how that's done. Might be a bit of a challenge, especially with a flippy screen, but in any case, I'm just going to locate screws and start unscrewing them. I got this little egg carton thingy here that I was about to throw away because I finished some eggs yesterday, and it's gonna work perfectly to try and keep my screws that I remove here in some kind of particular order. Of course, I got my screwdriver set here. So I have one of these, this cover here, I don't know, it looks like some 3D printed shit. Anyways, let me remove that. My apologies if the setting has moved a little bit. Of course, my SD card went full almost immediately, but as I was saying, I've taken apart quite a few cameras at this point, most if not all of them being Samsungs, in my attempt to repair and revive and find amazing deals and see if I can't fix broken ones and so on. And they're actually not that hard to do, believe it or not. You just basically locate the screws and gently, oh Jesus, I just broke the battery door. Look how stupid I am. I just broke the battery door. Can you imagine this? That's probably an easy fix. Anyways, no problem. That's not what I'm looking for anyhow. You just locate the screws, take the screws out and gently pry it apart, from what I can tell. I mean, every camera is different and I've never taken apart an NX20, so this is a new experience for me. But I imagine it's not all that different from an NX30, excuse me, an NX300, of which I have taken apart several. There we go. See, just pry it apart gently. Good idea is to be gentle because obviously this is going to be connected via a ribbon cable, so that's not going to come apart very easily. Let me get, I have some plastic pry tools. Let me get that and I'll be right back. I have better ones, but I just found this one sitting on my office desk, so it should probably do the trick. There we go. Getting a little separation. You can see the back plate wanting to come off. Again, I'm a little concerned about this ribbon cable that'll connect this. Oh, look at that. Well, not that I'm concerned so much about this screen, because this screen is actually messed up, but I want to do it properly on this one so that I know that when I remove it on my other one that is working properly, I don't ruin anything. Do we have, aha! Okay. Success on that front. I'm seeing two other screws here, and I'm trying to determine whether I actually need to remove that or not. What the hell with it? Let's take it out. Now, with that loosened, trying to take this off gently. It's a diopter here on the side. I don't want to break that knob. Okay, here we go. Perfect. It did need to be unscrewed. Wow, okay. I could see already issues with this one. This one's got some ribbon cable issues, no question. There we go. Not too bad. Now that I know what I'm doing, that's actually pretty easy. So there we have the back plate off. You know, now that I'm looking at it, I don't know, it's going to be interesting. Maybe I can get this entire plate off and replace the back plate. We'll see. Okay, so this is the money shot right here. We want to get this, which is obviously connected to the motherboard, which is connected to a whole bunch of crap. Okay, time to take her apart. This is the circuit board we want, so it shouldn't be too hard. Let's just remove these clips. Okay, this is the motherboard we want. What's up, buddy? Little Bosie came to visit me. Okay, here we go. There we have it. I wonder what this battery is for. You see there's a big ass battery here. I don't know what the heck that's for necessarily. Hey, 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 hey. Sorry for the shaking of the screen. My cat just jumped on the table. He wants to be part of it. I don't know. There's a lot of solder joints here from what I can tell. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 that I can see. I'm rethinking my plan of action here. Taking this off of this motherboard is going to be extremely difficult and perhaps not worth it. If this motherboard is okay, there's no problems with it, and if the problems with this one were the screen and the diopter, can I perhaps switch this motherboard into that one and solve my problem? I don't know. From what I can tell here, let's give this motherboard a good look. Well, visually, it looks okay, but sometimes these things are not something that you can see. But oftentimes they are, believe it or not. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this one aside now. I'm going to open the next one up and I'm going to replace the motherboards and see what happens. Might work. Worth a try. Let's do that. Little homie Kitty Smalls doesn't like to be left out, so he's encroaching on my work area here. Hopefully he doesn't knock anything over. He likes to sit right on the base of my camera that I have, my overhead camera, and I'm going to have to move him for the time being, but I'm going to take a small interlude and save you the pain of watching me take this camera apart here now, and we'll meet up in a few seconds with this camera already having been disassembled. The plan is going to be to take this motherboard, implant it in here, and see if this motherboard works properly, and all the peripherals like the back screen, the viewfinder, and so on and so forth will be compatible with hopefully what is a perfectly working motherboard out of the donor camera. Now, I had an SD card here 2 seconds ago. Where I put it is beyond me. It's gotta be here somewhere, for crying out loud. Where in the bloody hell is the SD card? Jesus Christ. Oh, gee. Look how stupid I am. It's right here. For God's sakes. What's the matter with me? Okay, so I believe it goes in like so. You see? It doesn't hold it. This one, on the other hand, it clicks in and it does hold it. I'm going to replace the motherboard and hope that this motherboard is well and intact, and that'll solve the issue, more or less. Okay, let's get to doing that then, see what happens. Clamp it down, and we're good to go, ready to rock and roll. Okay, I'm going to connect the screen, and I'm not going to put it all back together, but what I am going to do is, first I'm going to put this battery door back on here. Okay, now connect this screen. All right, okay. Now, good enough to test. Let's see if this replacement of the motherboard works. Click, held in place. Where's my battery now? Here it is. All right, now let's open this up. Let's put a lens on here. This is the one that autofocuses, otherwise doesn't manual focus, but otherwise works well. Let's see. looks like that might have been the easy fix. As far as I can tell, it's working. Let's take a picture. Okay, let's take a video. It's recording. There we go. So it looks like the motherboard that was on that camera worked fine. It was pretty much the screen and the rest of that had complications, so that's an easy fix. Replace the motherboard. I had an extra one, why not, eh? Alright. The other issue is I wanted to use this backing plate because this backing plate looked like it's in better condition. How easy or difficult that is, I'm not terribly certain. What I could do is take this apart further and see how difficult that is. If it's not that difficult, I think I will reuse it because, like I said, here you see it has the nice little grip still in place. This one, it's missing it. That's pretty much it, really. It just looks a little less worn. The buttons still have the icons kind of on them more or less perfectly, whereas this one's just a little bit worn. I mean, it's not a big deal, to tell you the truth, but we'll see. I'm gonna play with it anyways. But first, let me put this aside. First, I will play with it. Well, I've clearly made a big mess here, as you can see. And after monkeying around with this for the better part of half an hour trying to figure out how to take this apart and put it back together, I think the conclusion is it's definitely not worth it. I don't think I'm gonna even bother with it. As you can see, it's still in pieces and I tried to put it back together. Now it's doable, I can do it, but I don't know that it's worth all the mess and trouble to go through all that. All that being said, as it stands, the camera's, it works as you saw before, so let me just put this back together and finish it off there. So that little project is done. Now I got a fully functioning, fully working, fully operational with every single feature NX20. It's just a way to try and, like I said, take more value out of this eBay purchase that I bought. When I got the box, nothing was working, nothing there was operational, essentially, or 100% operational, so it's nice to be able to sort of match parts together. Luckily, I had a lot of the same types of camera and a lot of the same types of lenses that I'm able to do that, Sometimes it requires a little bit of creativity and thought, a little experimentation, and turns out it's not a big deal. So worked out really well. And by the way, I know that I mentioned that I wasn't going to put the backing plate on because it was too complicated, but obviously I made a mess for myself and I'm not going to leave it that way. So I started to put things back together and realized that there's actually a pretty easy way to work around it. So I did put it on. So now I have the correct and newer looking with the rubber padding backing plate on there as well. So works perfectly fine. NX20, that's ready to go. Everything's good with it, and I'm very pleased with that. So that's just another successful little job that I did for myself. Like I said, pulled more value out of this box and giving new life to old things, something that I really like to do. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you got something out of it, you know what I'm saying? So stay tuned for the next video where I'm going to be working on this particular lens and trying to reinstate some manual focus using the lenses that I got that came in the box, matching parts again and seeing if we can't get another proper working lens out of it. So for $200, I will have, hopefully, to this point, I could tell you with confidence, I got a 12 to 24 out of it that I was able to repair fully functionally, and now I got an NX20 that I was able to repair fully functionally. Works perfectly. And hopefully by the end of next video, I'll have an 18 to 55 as well. So I think that's a pretty good deal for 200 bucks. All right, see y'all next time. Peace.